Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Summoner Scuffle. Today we have two strange people on, Colby versus Joe. Fuzzy, who the heck are these people?
Oh, remind me again?
I think
Okay,
one of them
let me
streams and
think.
loses a lot or something. I don't really.
And the other one, is trying to write code? I don't
Yeah,
know.
but really, really slowly. Wow, this is a terrible start. Thank God they're not
No, this
watching.
Joe is apparently in his car on his way to the Plaid Hat Games office right as we speak. He's less chaotic, I guess. So today is the Summoner Scuffle Celebrity Edition. We're bringing on Colby
Woohoo!
Dow, designer of the game, and Joe Arthur Ellis, the guy who does everything. Like, we know him as the guy who programs the apps and that we send bug reports to, but he has a fancier title. Like, he is, what is his title? I mean, he's in charge of a lot of things at Plaid Hat Games. I'm blanking right the moment
Yeah,
what
when he
he is
just,
to everyone other
yeah.
than us. But he is the wearer of many, many, many hats.
Yep, that's true. Four
Actually,
magcogs with hats.
that's about the number of bodies Joe seems to simultaneously occupy on any given day. Like, he has 8 hands at 4 keyboards doing stuff, as far as any of us can tell.
No, yeah, he's definitely
So,
just like everything technical at Plathead. Like he's when he's on the Discard for Magic podcast, yeah, he'll just like casually drop like other things he does at Plathead, like run like all of the websites or something like that. And I'm just like, what? You do that too? Or he'll be like, we won't get a Summoner Wars update for a while, and he'll be like, yeah, I was doing all of this stuff for the most recent Familiar Tales game or something. It's like, okay. Pop off. Thought Summoner Wars was enough, but going above and
I
beyond.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah,
But
really,
definitely
truly.
we think of him, we sort of tend to think of having him to ourselves, and in fact we don't. Like, we don't, he doesn't,
It's
that's
very
not,
sad.
like, we don't even like, he does programming for all the games, and he's not exclusively a programmer. He
Yeah.
supports all Plaid Hat Games' tech, and he'll design games from time to time,
So,
when he's allowed to, or at
yeah.
least he designed a faction. He designed a faction for
Which,
Summoner Wars.
I mean, that may be a good segue into the factions that we are playing today. Because I believe Joe is
Indeed.
playing that faction that he designed, the Forged. You know, and that'll be that'll be interesting to ask him about too. Like, what does he enjoy playing? And like, I imagine this faction is very special to him.
Absolutely. I think
As
it's a question for both of them. Like, when this is your job, how does it affect playing? Maybe not even just this game, but other games.
yeah.
Do you ever get sick of games? You're allowed to say so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm so curious because like I feel like they get so many questions about oh it's the game, what's coming next, like blah blah blah. And I feel like if that was everything, like I would, I don't know, I feel like I would get burned out. Like I want to ask them like how do you enjoy playing? What do you enjoy playing? Do you like to just throw your summoners at the opponent, or do you like to be more tactical? Like what are games to you? Curious what they'll
Exactly.
say.
Like, what are games to you now that they're also your bread and butter?
Yes. But to talk about, I mean, we'll just mix it. Let's just mix this in with talking about the factions they're playing. So Joe is playing the Forged, which I remember like way back when him just pitching that he had like designed for Alpha a faction that just had all structure units. That like at first most of them were structures, and then Colby came back and was like, make them all structures. Um, and lo and behold, like a year later, here we have it, the Inventor. Who is pretty much the best representation I think any faction is of their two symbols, both logic and fire, just on his ability right now. All his units are structures. You may build structures diagonally. That's logic. And then Forge and Flames, every time you build a structure, do a crap ton of damage just everywhere. That is fire. Like, it's just these two symbols made manifest. And so you really want to be getting that Forged in Flames damage, which means the Inventor goes pretty aggressive, and also it's very easy to back yourself up. So like you don't need a lot of factions. It's hard to make a forward push if you don't have those gates. Not the case with the Forged. You just go forward and you build a bunch of stuff. Ember cogs are great. Every unit that can move in this deck has heavy mobile, which I think is just like a great like I love it when factions have very obvious strengths and weaknesses. Like like these cards not like taking one damage when they move, you're like, holy crap, that sounds really bad. But then they're really good in other ways. So yeah, the bread and butter of this deck I think of as Ember Cogs and Blast Forge Cogs, just hitting really hard. Reach turns out is really, really good. Like you wouldn't think it, but it just makes so many turns easier, lets you attack the same spot twice. Um, Blast Forge Cogs just hit for 3 and can do some extra damage too. Mag Cogs are truly, I don't know, I predict they're about to win April Madness. One of the most fun designs ever. It's a 1 magic 2/2 ranged that like can just go wherever it wants. It's but it not but like in like a classy way that you have to think about. Sentry Cogs can't freaking move. What the heck? How do I use this? I feel like everyone has to have that coming of age Forged game where they move forward and surround themselves with Sentry Cogs and then promptly lose the game because they're just stuck. Um, and it's a super fun faction because I don't know. In some games you can just run forward and it's great. In other games you need to run forward very, very carefully because if the Inventor dies, I don't think forwards have a plan B. If the Inventor gets low on health, it's not like you're retreating. You're all in. And yeah, modular upgrades to swap stuff around, like very sand goblins, just very clever plays. I really like how units are. I'm talking for too long. I really like how units are stuck like you like sentry cogs and gates. You put them in the wrong places and barricades, it's like crap, I literally can't move these, except you have a few clever tools that can, like modular upgrades can move structures that are totally stuck, and same with the Titan. So it's just yeah, very very unique deck. Anything to add about
No, you covered
it? Um, Good stuff. Well, do you? I last time when I passed the Crimson Order off to you, I was not disappointed. Shall I do that again?
it. I
That
have
is
no idea what I said last time, but all
uh,
I know now is that the Baron is wearing a plaid hat. It suits him. It goes with his color scheme,
it
actually.
really does. He's just like a really like cranky, I don't know, baseball watcher or something like a.
He's that old guy that's just not into any of those newfangled stadium upgrades and like the kiss cam and like all of that tomfoolery. He wants baseball to go right back to where it used to be 1,000 years ago.
Oh god, now
And
thinking about that Twilight scene. Never mind. All right, continue.
no, I'm just building up a storyline of how much he hates technology.
Yeah, yeah.
He just wants all this tech to go away, and he's facing off against a bunch of adorable magcogs also in plaid hats. So, I mean, what could possibly go wrong on the battlefield? No, so what do we have? We have the vampire faction, we have the vampire swarm faction. So these guys make games run long. They have weak little cultists that keep coming back just to annoy you. You have a 2 in 3 chance of killing them dead, and a 1 in 3 chance they go right back to grumpy old guy's hand. So, what do you do about those guys? I think when we were all learning this deck, what do? We just shoot them, right? We just kill them and they keep coming back. I think as the community got collectively better at the puzzle solve, I think we realized that a lot of the strategy did arise in deciding what to kill, where to put your units. Do you ignore those devout cultists and attack juicier targets? How, if you want to do that, how do you do that? probably your faction has better mobility than theirs because these vampires are slow. They bend a lot of Summoner Wars rules, for example, by bringing cards back from the dead, but the one they obey is they get 3 moves per turn, and that's it. And their units move normally, except for Sekhmet, the expensive flying guy, who doesn't make it to every game and might be, either early enough that you have to discard him or late enough that he's irrelevant. So for the most part, these vampires, you know where they're going to be next turn. It's not like Shadow Elves or something where, they're halfway across the board because you didn't think of that combination where, the Sage Ranger could rush and then you could summon a Shadow Knight off him, Shadow Knight walks around behind you and you're dead. Vampires don't have stuff like that. So they're predictable enough that it becomes a tactics game again, of board positioning and movement once you kind of understand that shooting and killing them just, like kids playing the card game War, isn't really that much fun. It's kind of tedious and you're counting on dice to win you games. So some people, on Discord are not fans of that undying devotion ability.
Some
And this
people
is
on the internet are complaining about some stuff. Yeah.
no, some of my good friends on the Discord do not like that ability, but I actually don't have a problem with it. It gives the faction a specific flavor. It's too much RNG for some games. Like I played, my record was 17 devout cultists in one game. They just kept coming back. Like I kept bringing Uncle Sparks back, and it wasn't enough. So it does
Feel
make
issue.
for some very frustrating games, but that's like the less than 1% chance. And to some extent, I do think you have to play into that. You do need to choose to go for that strategy of like assuming semi-normal dice. But that's the faction in a nutshell. They're going to swarm, they're going to overwhelm you, and you're playing a long game because they have a lot of weak little units that come back, as well as some heavy hitters, the Royal Warriors that hit really hard. Baron Daemar himself hits hard. Sacral Priest is maybe my favorite support unit of the game, just because they look so unassuming, and then you realize they make Daemar really strong. They make each other strong. They disincentivize your opponent to do splash damage and leave you with a bunch of units wounded by one. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a sprawl. Like if I had to make one prediction, it's that both sides will have units kind of strewn uselessly on the battlefield too far away to help. So it'll be a crammed battlefield
I
with
believe it.
it'll be clogged.
Yes,
It'll
yes.
be a nice traffic jam.
Yep, yep. And with that, let's not keep them waiting. They just sent a link waiting for the go ahead. You want to go and pull that up?
All right, give me a moment.
Yep, yep. Take your time. And yeah, I feel like this should make a good match because the fours are just gonna get over there and be hitting really hard, and that hurts the vampires. The vampires can hit really hard back, pretty decent on the defense. Daemar should be able to get his ability charges. Well, not really. I really struggle with Daemar because I'm just like, you want to attack enemy units with him, but there's a lot of factions where it just feels like the risk is never worth it. He should just stay in the back row the entire time. Um,
The matchup analysis is kind of my favorite part of the game, honestly. The stuff that happens before the game,
yeah,
where you just sit there and like, can I attack with Daemar or do I need to hang back? What are my opponent's strengths and weaknesses? How do they stack up against mine?
yeah.
I really think the game, that's why I actually don't like playing new faction against new faction. Then it just
Mm-hmm.
feels a little bit random. Like, again, you get back to like kids playing the card game War of like, I'm
Yeah,
going to attack with that guy. Now you can attack. Now I'm going to do something.
yeah,
But when you can dial in and these factions are both, I think, strongly characterized by their movement limitations.
yeah,
The Inventor obviously has reach. He can move fast upfield, but he can't really retreat. And he can box himself in, and he can get trapped on the wrong side of the field if you swing the action to the other side of the field. But looks at Crimson Order, they're not going to, turn on a dime and shift all their guys from one side of the field to the other. They can't. Like, maybe they'll just litter units on the other side of the board, and maybe that's their way of trying to swing the action to where the Inventor isn't. But then you've got a bunch of useless units on one side and a bunch of useless units on the other. So what does happen? So I think that's going to be the hallmark of this game, is the movement, or lack thereof.
Yeah. Well, I've gone ahead and given them the go. So let's see how it starts. Wow, and Joe's Joe's icon is Vesna. Um, getting
Just to confuse us.
yeah.
I've watched my share of scuffles back and just gotten confused by that. Like, I really like seeing where I miscalled stuff. All right, so Royal Warrior is going to come in immediately, and okay, so we're trying to choke the Forged. We're going to use up what movement we have right here and now. Royal Warrior is going to hit for 4.
Does Daemar shoot that warrior? That is the question.
Not really.
I might.
No, I want to shoot the cultists. I don't think I've ever shot a warrior just for fun.
Hey, maybe you just do 1 damage. I wouldn't worry about it.
I would.
Her Greta in chat says, make sure to ask them how they discovered Summoner Wars and if they played first edition. I mean, it is. I feel like I've heard the story a million times for Colby about like trying to make a miniatures game without the miniatures. So I'd imagine that just what he would say about like the sort of the inspiration for Summoner Wars. But it does. I don't know. Like, how does one design one of the best board games of all time? Like,
and how does one articulate where that idea came from?
yeah.
They can tell us about the mechanics, but just that. And then also, we can riff on the theme now that they've set up the structure. A lot of people love coming up with custom factions, ideas for new units, ideas for abilities. But it's so much easier once that foundation is in place. Like, we can riff. The riffraff can riff on it all day, but someone had to come up with this 3 attacks, 3 moves, 3 attacks system.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to keep coming back to over and over again, because it's kind of having such a strong and simple underlying structure really means you can load a lot of complexity onto the factions and not feel it at all. All right, Water D saying people enjoy creating custom factions, not playing them. That is true. I think partly because it's hard to play. You have to get people together on Tabletop Simulator or something. And also, admittedly, because it is kind of easier to just create and not have to fix broken stuff.
Gotta interrupt.
Like,
that's our first special. Rolled for a devout. Continue. Continue.
I was gonna say, it's like my kids littering the living room floor with toys and not having to be the ones to pick them up. I think that's what it's like when we just design custom factions and even throw around ideas for buffs and nerfs to existing ones without being on the hook in any meaningful way, shape, or form.
Playtesting is rough. It is not easy. I am on that train.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We're chit-chatting about custom factions and design, and there's a game going on.
Yeah, so we got a Magcog in front of the Inventor, which sometimes, like, if you're playing against a faction that you really want to rush, feels like a death wish. But I'm really anticipating a grind here. Like, we maybe don't need to get on their side of the battlefield immediately. Crimson Order's coming to us. We're just gonna be a lot of pings, a lot of warriors. That's what I anticipate here.
Seems like Daemar would really appreciate a gate.
Nope, no gate for them.
It is early. All right.
2 for
A
2. Will
sad
we
moment.
get the 5 for 5? We could clear all of these units. Oh my goodness. No way we get this. No way. Jose. All right. Yeah, you had it coming.
Royal Warrior evens. It brings the odds
You had it
up.
coming. Yeah.
All right. So we got 4 magic. Can't see the hand, but there's potentially 2 Forged in Flames builds right now.
Yes, yes.
Colby should, from Tortugatron, Colby should really be repping more than just a diamond crown. Where's the Beat Colby badge?
Yes,
Can
and
Colby beat himself? This game does not allow mirror matches, people.
it does. I listened to some podcast and it was like apparently Joe has it coded so it's like if you were in a game where Colby is defeated, you have the Beat Colby badge. So Colby does in fact have the Beat Colby badge, but has chosen not to rep it.
Wait, so he can get the Beat Colby badge just by being Colby?
Because he has been in a game where Colby was defeated, so he has the badge.
That sounds like quite a loophole.
um what Water says, I have no idea how to play it from the Forge side. It seems bad for them. Um, I feel like if the Forged get on the opponent's side of the battlefield, it's tough for any matchup. Especially like if the Forged can just threaten with like modular upgrades and stuff, just damage on Daemar, that will really really put a wrench in Damar's plans because suddenly you've got a retreat. I would be surprised if this matchup is not fairly even, all things considered.
Well, I think the Forged kind of just have to attack through the wave of cultists. They don't really have. I mean, they have reach, but I think they're limited in the ability to really shift the game from side to side or do any of the movement things that really strand units the way you can sometimes strand rooms in order units. Like they're the ones who are going to get stranded most likely.
Yeah,
Although in this case, when they're playing defensively, Ben, they are so good.
they really
When they
are.
are trenched the way they are right now in their back half of in their back half of the field and the opponent's playing into that, then they're just a nightmare. You don't even need to use the Inventor's ability. Then scratch everything I said. It's just I can build whatever I want. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, any of these structure factions. Oh, there's two damage on the Inventor. Every damage on the Inventor really counts. You really feel it. I feel like he is the ultimate summoner for like just he needs to be in the battlefield.
Yep.
He needs to be there.
Well, some of the summoners you don't really care. Like you just don't commit to damaging, like Takulu. But the ones that get, once you chip damage them down enough that they have to play it safe, it just changes the game for them.
The Inventor,
And the
like,
Inventor is definitely one of those.
play it safe. What's that? Like, there's just so many matchups where you just could not win if you're not building those forward structures, getting that Forged in Flame. So
Exactly.
damaging him is lethal. No moves here, but yeah, I feel like this does sort of. I feel like you're right. This plays into the Forge's hand. Like if they just stay here and um just keep throwing units at you, it can be really good. Especially if we get like a modular upgrade on that 10 health gate. Like suddenly, just like every other turn, your attacker is totally defended. It's great. Winner goes up
That
against.
modular on the 10 health gate, I hate to admit it's almost the only way I know how to play that modular upgrade.
That's funny. I always started with it on the Magcog because that just like seemed like the way you could get the most shenanigans going. but 10 health gate seems good too.
No, I definitely do not have the Forge dialed in. I would say I feel like there's a couple things I can do that work, but I don't really have a full playbook.
Yep, so Joe is not really giving Daemar a whole bunch of targets. Like, we got this blast forge, but there's almost certainly one of Daemar's attacks this turn is not going to be used very well. And these warriors are going to be pretty exposed, pretty easy to beat up next turn. I like it.
No, I like it because it's just not. It's not the kind of forged game you see very often, but
Yeah.
it actually exposes the Crimson Order weakness of our army marches slowly, and it's hard to get reinforcements back to the front.
Yeah.
I mean, that said, just anytime there's two royal warriors next to each other on the front lines like that, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
No way around that. You know that there's that, the potential 9 of them in the deck. Not that I've actually ever seen 9 royal warriors summoned in one game, but you can bring them back with those 2 call forths, and it's just a lot of hit points to chew through, and those gates there in front of are not doing any attacking.
Yeah. I feel like I
But
wonder
that's
if
an
it's
interesting
yeah, go ahead.
sentry cog.
Hmm.
That does dunk them up until they get rid of it.
Yeah, especially with them. Sentry cogs, like, we hate on them a lot, but they are the best defensive unit you could ask for. Like, if you're on the defense, you want your sentry cogs.
All right. Well, Colby's figured that out.
Nope, not enough.
Oof.
I'll take some more
Except it's
damage.
hard not to root for the robot guys.
It really is, especially when they're getting assaulted by vampires. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really know what better lore justification for this battle I can offer other than just clearly 1,000-year-old vampires hate tech.
Makes sense. I'm convinced.
Like, my electronics and gadgets are just so offensive to me. I just need to seek and destroy them all.
Destroy the man who makes them.
And convert them into other vampires. Yeah, not sure how that works. None of us have figured that out.
Keep an open mind. Hellwalk coming in. Oh, to
Oh,
grab the sentry
recursion
cog.
versus recursion. Although,
I'm hoping
well,
for what's it called? I'm hoping for a modular because otherwise
yeah, I don't
Helma's
like how
going down.
exposed that guy is.
Yeah.
Yes,
or just pop him back in
or
the head.
just flash the Helmaw and just taunt. Okay, well, I mean that's a more damaging way to put down the Helmaw,
Yeah.
but it doesn't answer the question about how to keep it alive.
Yeah. Figure out that part later. But I do really feel like how many factions can compete with the Inventor playing on his side of the board? I feel like it's like none. Like if you're truly on the Inventor's side of the board, you're going to lose. And you at least want to be playing the game a few spaces. Like if you're playing a forward game against the Inventor, you at least want to stay out of those back 3 rows or something. Or you will just get pounded.
Well, I mean, the warriors are protecting each other. He can only attack one flank at a time, and it's kind of easy to forget that 5 to life units take a lot of effort to kill.
Yeah. Just with, and we don't have any modulars now, which would really help. But like as soon as we get a modular on that 10 health gate, like I just feel like you cannot support this position.
Agree, but when are we going to get the modular?
That's true, and that's sort
I
of
mean, are we going to get the modular in time to get that Helmaw to safety?
yeah. I was talking with Vexter about this league matchup, the Sand Goblins versus Forged, and it's like, is it just Supergate versus Supergate? Like, and the Sand Goblins have the same problem of like, when do you draw your thruster upgrade? It might not be in the first half of your deck. That would suck. Gotta
When
know how to play with
when
that.
there's two of them in the deck, it does smooth out the draw a little bit. It's not as unlikely as Varn getting bottom decked, seeing as there's only one Varn and at least there's two thrusters and two modulars.
Yeah.
But it is frustrating when a particular, it feels like the best strategy against a particular faction is really tied to a particular card that you really want to draw early. Like, I wouldn't say it happens a lot, but it's just one of those considerations.
Yeah. Gotta be
I will
flexible.
say this: much as we all complain about draw and dice luck, none of us actually wants this game to be chess. Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty firmly on that hill. I'm pretty firmly like anyone who's like, oh, we should like get rid of dice. I'm like, you are wrong. Dice is what makes this game great. So I don't overthink literally everything. I could not play chess.
I mean, there's reasons I do kind of rethink what competitive formats are viable and fun as we get to the mythical 66 factions, or the aspirational 66 factions, I should say. I just give it an adjective because I can't fathom life that far ahead.
Yeah.
I definitely, definitely, my take is colored by, if your main competitive venue is League, then you can focus only on the fun matchups and not every single possible combination. Some of which they're kind of, some of which are amazing and some of which are kind of annoying, or there's some matchups that I find a little too RNG driven for my tastes, but I think that's inevitable. And my
Yeah.
preference is always just, play in a format where I have more control over the matchups, or where we as
Yeah.
the organizers.
Yeah, and as someone that like started with playing in person Summoner Wars, it's never like I never see it as an issue of like, oh, if they release a faction that I don't like, it's just like, okay, I won't play it. Like like that's always been in my mind because like I like just start in person and it's like in person like I really love Fungal Dwarves, but like most of my friends would not enjoy playing them, so I just wouldn't play them against my friends. Like that just seemed pretty easy. Like some factions are for some people, some are not. But then if you're playing online and you're queuing into public queue, it's like, well, you don't have a choice. And same thing with the plaid hat tournaments. But
That's true. That's very true.
it is nice just to be like, yeah, play what you want. You don't you don't have to play the factions matchups that you don't enjoy.
All right, what are we seeing here? And is there any way to keep that Helma alive? Doesn't look.
No, there's not.
There's no modular upgrade, and there's that feels bad.
I don't know. Joe's got this. I'm rooting for him. That means he'll
You're
have some
rooting
swing
for
of
him, or
luck.
you think or you're expecting him to win, or you see advantage for him.
Um, right now it feels like he's behind. I won't lie. Uh, I
So now
maybe
we're
it's the
rooting for him
underdog.
to pull something.
But like I don't know. It seems like the sort of game that can very easily turn over time. Like this feels like the sort of game I'd expect to be playing Crimson Order. Like I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning, and then all of a sudden, wait, why am I behind? And it's because all of my units were overextended for like 5 turns straight on the Forge side of the battlefield. Of course, I started to lose on value. I don't know. We'll see. Colby and Joe
No,
have both kept
that
their
sums
summoners
up.
alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sums up Crimson Order losses in a nutshell, though. It's like fungal dwarves. Like, there's that
Uh-huh.
inflection point where they're at their peak and seem invincible, and then you start just chipping away at that mountain, and it all kind of crumbles fast.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's definitely the arc of every Crimson Order game that where the Crimson Order lose on econ, where you actually gas them out.
Yeah.
It feels good. I mean, why do we play games? We play games because, the thrill of victory feels good. Or even the puzzle solve for me, I think, is what matters more than necessarily doing well in league or whatever, but just that puzzle solve of, figuring out a faction or figuring out a matchup. And I've said this before, the fact that it's kind of a collective puzzle solve really, I think, is what's kept me in this game and in this community a lot longer than,
Yeah.
just chasing victory.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but Vector and I are starting to we're playing with different ways of like doing the league matchup showcase, but we're starting to be like, well, what if we just like sort of play a few like super casual fast games and just like try to figure out this matchup together? Because this most recent one, we're just like we both just had no idea what to do, and the two games were just like, yeah, this is not indicative of the matchup at all. We were just throwing stuff at a wall. This is a lot
I didn't actually watch it. Was it just as everyone predicted, just that bad in
we haven't released it yet, so it's still, and we might play some more games too for the Sand Goblins Forged. And oh, should Enkai, you don't know how to face the Shadow Elves? We have a video for that. Vector and I made a video how to beat the Shadow Elves. I still don't know how to face them, and I made that video, so maybe that's indicative that it's not very useful, but there's some hot tips in there.
Hot
on
tip
the YouTube channel.
Afterwards. Hey, Vexer, True Seeker is a girl.
Did he was making a conscious effort to not just refer to all units as either he or it, as this the genderless creature for the Magic player.
Oh, I just enjoy giving him shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we all. All right, Inventor. We've drawn the modular upgrade, and now we're gonna turn it around. That's what's happening. I'm ready for it. Doom calls in the face. Like, this is fine though. Like, 2 sentry cogs, just shoot those devout cults. Like, we can play this game out. We're doing fine. We're doing fine. They slowly break that gate. It's fine. Totally fine.
Well,
like,
that gate is one of the.
Yeah.
With other factions, you at least get the reward that they can't summon out of it.
The 3 gates. I love it. I feel like we'd sort of want to like make like a diamond with those gates, like have one of them above the other so we can get some like diagonal builds in or something.
Yes.
I don't know. Joe really seems to know where the money's at, is the defensive game at this point. So see if he pulls through. The economy, like, Colby has a better board right now, but like card wise, magic wise, they're pretty tied up, and the board, like, it is interesting comparing to the Fungal Dwarfs like you did. Like, the board, like, this isn't a crazy Crimson Order board. I've seen crazy Crimson Order boards, and this is not it.
Phosmino, as Ben learned recently, it is possible to summon as the Forged.
Yes, that was a hot realization. No spoilers for the matchup showcase with Vexer, but someone pointed out that I could just summon a unit and it changed everything. Has Joe played the Forged before? What is happening? He is the Forged. He is the man that made the Forged. This is, you bet you should be taking notes, Tortugatron. Come on. Believe in him. Because do you think, like, the Crimson Order, like, here, we're just going to keep wailing on these gates, and then eventually the gates are broken, and then the Inventor just builds 3 units and wipes that front row? Daemar is coming forward. I think this is...
Daemar is coming within range. What are you doing?
Oh, snap. This is getting juicy. Colby did not have the patience.
Where are those workshops too?
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, I guess we played 2 mag cogs. Just no modular. Hurts us a lot. Modular is like the best card in this deck.
Just to be totally asinine, and I'm not claiming this is gonna happen, just imagine like the barricades and workshops like all in a row.
I believe it. I could believe it. Absolutely. Sometimes that, like, yeah, you just hitting enemy gates doesn't feel good, and especially against the forwards, because the forwards just do not need those gates. And as soon as you ever drop a gate, as soon as the gate goes down, the enemy gets the first strike. They get to hit you first from behind that gate, which is why I've slowly been like pivoting my like default, like, oh, if I have an extra attack and there's a gate, just hit it. I've slowly been changing to favoring just don't hit it. Because a lot of times in a lot of games it's just like when it actually comes down to it, I'm like, wait, I don't want to break this gate because they're gonna come out from behind.
Or that gate is my bunker.
Oh snap. See, it's happening. It's happening right now. Ooh, and then the sentry cog is defended. I like it. I'm into it.
Oh, now this game begins.
Yeah. Tortugatron says Colby fell for Joe's trap. It may well be true.
Ben called Joe's trap. Right, what are we doing with a workshop over there, other than fulfilling my prophecy of just making that wall?
They're just listening to the stream, like playing as we tell them to.
You know how many times I've just misread the board or miscounted cards on stream? I don't really misread the board. I do miscount cards. Like, have both of X been played? They have, right? No, they haven't.
Yeah, it's hard in the scuffle because we get a bit distracted. I swear in live games where you're playing yourself, it's easier. It's easier to remember what's been played and what hasn't.
What's the answer to that feature request of looking in your discard pile, which I, by the way, really want? Is like, well, play live games and then you remember what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Joe has set up a death trap.
Yeah,
What do you
like,
do as Crimson Order?
and breaking any of those gates is just terrible.
Well, what do you do as Crimson Order as you slowly contemplate the consequences of that forward rush and investment in gates?
Yeah, this is Tortugatron. I can hear Joe cackling from here. No, this is suddenly like turned on a dime. Now it feels like Forged are way ahead. Like what does the order do here? Throw another warrior at that 4 health gate? Like that seems bad. Seems like you almost need to retreat this game right now.
I
Just
mean, I
cut
could
your
give
losses.
Colby a lot of bad advice right now.
Let's hear
Daemar attacks Sentry Cog.
it. I mean, there's a world like,
I mean, there is a world, there is a priest. He could one-shot
wow.
it
Is
and
Colby
get...
actually retreating? I'm sorry. I just like did not ever I'm so
I
I'm
was
so used to
getting
Colby
kind of
just throwing
invested in
stuff.
Daemar attacking Sentry Cog. Like 5 dice, 4 dice, priests. I was getting invested in that play. We haven't seen any converts either.
Yes. Um, the right hand would be lethal here. I don't think with 3 magic, maybe not. One has been
No,
played.
triggered.
Oh,
One
okay.
has been played.
I was like, wait, did I remember
See,
seeing that? I wouldn't put my
no, see, I
no.
fooled. I do that. Like it's the pea brain
You
of
were just
trying to
testing
like.
me.
No, it's when I'm chit chatting on stream and trying to spin out like the story of what's happening in this battle. Like, I'm gonna like grill them for that, but it's just all these threads when I'm watching a game. But you're right. When you're the one playing it, you just naturally remember.
Yeah. And
Tortugatron. You guys are, yes, I missed the convert in Tortugatron's game too.
yeah, it really changes things when you remember the cards that your opponent has played already. But really, with the right cards, we could do so much damage to Daemar right here. Watered, I like Vampire's position a lot more here.
Ooh.
Really interesting. Like, it just, the fact that we can do half of Daemar's health this turn with the right hand, not make me happy. Yeah, Colby is
Also,
winning.
the fact
What?
that we can build whatever we want. Like, we have that entire third row to build on. I mean, only 3 magic, so again, you need the right hand.
I agree. I am also a pro. That's basically just Fuzzy and I commentating.
Chat's turning on us.
Chat disagrees with how we're reading the game. This is not allowed. Modular upgrade.
All
All
right,
right.
second
Can we?
modular.
I do admit if we don't really get that many dice on Daemar this turn, this does feel pretty bad, especially if we're exposing the Inventor. Please build. Please build over on the right side. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the plan is.
Barricade, please. Please don't let him die. He's too cool. Oh, maybe we were hoping to break that gate. Should have hoped harder. What are
Yeah, I don't like it.
now I like the position massively more.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Barricade, easy game. This is the
Okay.
easiest game of my life. No. This is great. I love it.
All right. All right. All right.
Doing great. I was never worried. It might have seemed like I had worried, but I was just putting on a show there.
That was just chat getting to you.
Yeah.
Oh, we've
Tortuga
been
Tiny,
told to do voice acting for the characters.
I'm pretty sure Tortuga Tiny, you gotta put your money where your mouth is. I want, yeah, go send us a clip of the Inventor voice. We'll play it.
Oh, that'd be fun to like voice cast the people we've had on the Scuffle and like decide what characters they are.
We need. I mean, this is on the list of whenever Plaid Hat it starts making millions on this game. Like more unique voices. We haven't really had unique voices since like the Master Set. It's all been reused stuff. I want to yeah, I want to hear the silly little grunt the Inventor makes when you summon him. Wait, you don't summon the Inventor. Well, you get the idea. Joe did the voice
All
on a
right, we
stream
just
a
had a
month
call
ago.
forth.
Oh, what was reclaimed?
A priest, and I missed the first one because I was reading the stream.
Imagine watching. All right, let's watch it again.
Someone help us. What was the first unit called forth?
All four. I'm replaying it. Cultist and devout cultist and priest. All right, so not getting a ton of value, just keeping up the pressure. Oh snap! Daemar hits the gate for 7. Wow, and he needed every dice of it. This is game. right? Daemar's dead. There's no way he lives this. You just need like any 3 units in hand right now, and Daemar's dead. Come on, Forge. Let's see it. What it says, I would attack the cog and relax. Daemar can just live out sucking blood from those robots. Yeah, you gotta be really careful here. You think this is it, Fuzzy? You gonna call me on it? What do you think? What's happening?
I want to see what kind. All right, this is not good for Crimson Order.
I bet Donald would record every voice gladly.
Are we going to drop another unit?
And if we have another unit,
Something.
then we can drop a third unit.
We used up all our gates.
That's true.
All right,
Workshop?
there we go.
Okay. Yeah, and so now we have...
A cultist coming back.
Yep. Hope you weren't planning on undoing. Because no longer. Paid DLC. Yeah, that's the monetization model we've been looking for Summoner, where it's actually just all the factions are free, but you pay to get the voices. And Blast Forge. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think I'd want the magic more than the coolant.
I want that Blast
kind of
Forge.
sold me on that one.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not as black and white as they say. Like, I'm okay with situation. Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, situation. No, I mean, I don't think it's like auto discard or something.
Yeah,
but also it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant if Daemar is going down soon. But that's why I would have still wanted to be able to summon shit rather than invest in a slightly healthier Ember Cog at this point in the game.
Yeah. I'm always very happy to play it on champions.
Yes, but you're not always playing champions either.
It's very true.
Which I don't mind. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Again, it's. I think there's a lot of Discord opinions about champ play and the master set champs being weak, and I don't like the never play champs, but the situational ones are fine with me.
Yeah, me too. For game design in general, like I like stuff that isn't autoplay but has like a unique circumstance that it's good and like changes how you do something. Like I like the unique sometimes play champs. Those are my favorites.
From the same faction, I like Boldo as just the always play, central to the deck champ, and I like Tess as this weird what do you do with her champ. Like I'm happy with where both of those have landed in terms of deck design.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's not where Daemar wants to be.
No. This is like Daemar's last stand. Oh, well, yeah, but all right. Maybe I spoke too soon about that coolant. How are we going to kill that, though?
If we have a what's the event cause that gives you +1? Yeah.
Oh yeah, a death right and a and convert that mag cog.
Yeah.
And then you get, let's say, 8 dice, I think, on that Ember Cog, and I look in And that's where 666 life Ember Cog does make a difference, and I get to eat crow.
Alright. There is a death right. Easy. Oh, wait, you want to attack with that first.
No. What?
Wait. Colby.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
come
is he
on,
going for...
Colby.
No, what is he...
Well, I mean, he's going for the Doom Cultist, but...
Interesting. I mean, that is a better roll than the 2, but that frees up that spot. Okay, I mean, easiest game of his life, I guess. Never mind. But yeah, killing that Doom Cultist did, in fact, just lose you the game. Because now we just build on both sides of this, and then Daemar's toast.
See, I would have wanted the magic. That coolant did nothing, and 3 magic versus 2 might be the difference between can you build on both sides and
Absolutely.
capitalize on these juicy holes on the board.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if he doesn't have it, and we've seen all the gates, we've seen both workshops. No, you're right. We need 3 1 costs to get it. Have we seen every single gate? Is there still a gate left?
There's maybe a barricade? No, I think
Oh,
Joe's been running.
yeah.
Like, I feel like Joe's been like one short, and we can ask him after the game. I feel like he's been sort of one short magic of wherever I would have wanted to be for most of these turns.
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping super close track, but I was watching Magic for that game and for that turn, and I would have wanted to be at 3 right now. You know, obviously we don't know his hand.
Joe thinking about this does not bode well. I'll say that much.
No. I mean, Inventor's trapped. He can't retreat. Joe is coding something quick. All right.
Oh, yeah, no. Or just have an Ember Cog. You're right.
Or just go for the 3 for 3.
Yeah, easy.
But no, that's what I mean, though. Now there are not 2 units in those diagonal spots. We're going for the 3 on 3. You know, I think it's, 55%?
Yeah. We take that. I mean, even if we miss, it's not like we lose, even though we might.
Well, we can.
We might lose.
We might.
Just a little bit.
We might.
Yeah, I'm just now realizing that blast forge in the corner there. It's kind of rest in peace. To not be doing anything with him.
It's enjoying its peaceful existence.
Yeah.
It's live long and I'm not sure prosper is what I'm looking for, but live a long live to a boring old age.
Skill issue. Try harder next time, Joe. He did not rig the dice enough.
Is that a thing? That's a thing on your stream now.
But Fuzzy's seen it. He's fallen into our trap.
A little skill emoji speech bubble.
Yeah. Is the inventor dead? This is really about as intense as it can get in terms of finishes for these two. Because, like, the inventor very well might not be able to finish this. In which case, what is happening? Or, sorry, Daemar might not be able to finish this. In which case, what does he do? Retreat? Like, what's the game plan here?
Give them both credit for being committed.
Yeah, they are going at it. And I mean, at this point, looking at that econ, the inventor does probably lose, so maybe you do want to retreat as Daemar. Oh, Tortugatron says Doom needs to be killed. I agree. The Doom needs to be killed, or else it is game. Absolutely. Watered, I thought you already
Wa-
quit Summoner Wars. No. I'm teasing.
Watered is here to just like like badger them after the game. When's the next tournament? Watered, I didn't back out on my promise to tell you when the next tournament was. It hasn't happened.
Yeah, we've gone a season without a tournament. How will we survive? We survive with the tournaments. Tortugatron's tournaments are the best of competitive Summoner Wars. I'm saying it now. Tons of fun. I joined last minute at Turtle Surprise. Like, it's great. I love tournament, but something ridiculous. It's my favorite
Oh,
type of tournament.
I could not do I could not do Turtle Surprise just for life reasons, and it was just really sad. I
Yeah,
love the
yeah.
format. I really love the format.
Joe, you got to kill that Doom cultist. Nope. Well, because there just wasn't another unit. Like, your other options to like get the win here is like devout cultist, kill the devout cultist, and then attack with Daemar. But it's obviously super easy to just attack with Doom cultist, kill the Doom cultist, and then attack with Daemar. That doesn't take a whole lot. But I mean, still misses. Like 2 melee, 5 ranged on 4 health. Okay, well, it's
Just to really have the dice hate you, the priest could miss the Doom Cultist kill.
1 in 9 to literally lose the game. Definitely the start. All right, we need this priest to miss. That's our only chance here. Oh, that's game. It's over. That's over. Joe just won. That's just if you rely on those risky kills, 1 out of 9 times they'll bite you. Wow.
Wow.
Colby quits Summoner Wars forever.
Watered says, and I agree, no shame on going out doing the best play.
Well, with that workshop, we should get transfuse. I'm like, wait,
Transfuse.
can that go on in summoners? No, it cannot.
No.
If only.
It can't really do much.
That workshop, we got 3 dice on Daemar. I'm ready to see it.
0 for 3 melee. It's happened. It's happened to all of us.
Here comes Salty Colby in the chat. Colby comes in, it's like, all right, guys, I think I'm going to get rid of the dice.
The diceless faction coming up. You heard it here first.
All right, hopefully we have some structure at least so we can bring that workshop in for the 3-on-2 for the kill. Range dice are the leading cause of salt in this game.
Actually, why not just what? Look, I lost track. Why didn't he just keep the? Okay, all right. My faith in the universe is restored.
Yes. So I wonder if there's a way to get 2 attacks. I'm not gonna worry about it. Like, is there a way to kill that devout cultist? No, because you need to get the Inventor out of there. Because like the previous Ember Cog had killed the devout and then Mag Cog, but no, the Inventor was stuck. And saving the Inventor from certain death is in fact a good thing to do. Let's hit it. Easy game. See, I called the matchup the whole time. Never doubted it. Chat was wrong.
All right, Tugatron says we're wrong. He could have got 2 attacks if the Inventor stayed.
I'll believe it when I see it. Where's that play? Oh, you just builds the mag. Yeah, the Ember Cog hits the Devout Cultist, build a Mag Cog, swap with the Workshop. Ember Cog hits Daemar, Magcog comes in, hits Devout Cultist. All right, I'm gonna invite these losers in here.
Hello.
Hello to the luckiest man on the planet.
I could hardly even take my turn because I was just laughing so hard.
Hello to the unluckiest man on the planet.
Oh man.
You went
And
all...
we're both in the office, so we could hear each other reacting from our respective offices.
Joe's maniacal laugh when I missed that hit.
I wasn't even considering it as a possibility.
Oh, I was.
Oh yeah,
I was.
You didn't consider running away a little bit and
I
playing.
did. It was like, I have the economy. Do I go ahead and run here? And I thought, nah, let's end it because that's just my style.
I mean, we had the comment from Watered in chat. Where is it? LOL, if he retreats as Daemar, here I quit Summoner Wars.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, Daemar ain't no punk ass. He couldn't run in that situation. He had it in hand. I had a chance to finish his summoner with my summoner. You got to take it.
All right, well, we'll say this from Watered too. No shame on going out doing the best play.
Yeah, I could have played the long game. Turns out that would have been the way to do it, but you don't see the dice before they're rolled.
All right,
yeah,
so...
I don't know. I didn't feel like I mean I did okay. I liked some of the formations I had going at points, but I didn't build. I don't know. That Colby did a great job. Actually, is what I'll say. I was impressed with his play. So.
You can't always push against the forge. Sometimes you gotta make them come to you.
Is that the lesson from this game?
Well, lesson from this game is don't count your eggs before they're hatched.
Don't count on 2 ranged dice ever.
Yeah.
No, that's true. It's like an 11% chance, I believe, of whiffing.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I had the economic advantage because of my hot devout cultist rolls, so I was due for a tragedy.
They cooled off over time. I wasn't feeling too butthurt about those.
I think those of us who are obsessive about this game have all seen worse.
Yeah.
And with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I was really stingy with discarding for magic, and
I was even stingier.
You know, just from facing the Crimson Order, and yeah, it didn't. I still like I got to the end and was short, and there was 1 or 2 turns where as soon as I drew cards, I was like, dang it, I should have discarded one more.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, Joe. Was your strategy from the get-go here to be like, let me draw him onto my side and play this defensive forged game, or is that just how things ended up?
I mean, that's pretty much how it's always going to be when you're facing Colby. You know, he's gonna run right in. So yeah, I was fine with. I mean, the forged is just really different. You can really afford to, you know, put things in a lot of places that would really doom other factions.
He's playing the player, not the game.
So I could put a line of, you know, gates around and trap my own people places, and they can get out later. It's fine, you know.
How'd you like that that cultist play, the Doom cultist play? You don't get that much damage off a Doom cultist too often.
Yeah, well, also you're really went after that barrier. Is that the turn you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping for an open shot at your summoner, and then you put that barrier up there, and then I needed revenge against that barrier.
Oh, Ben and I were sweating until he put down that barrier. Like, and then when you put down the barrier, you restored our faith in humanity. And
yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most optimized play. I didn't get any damage off it. It was out in the open, but it obviously wasn't an optimized play in general from the Forge. But you know, I hit the things I needed to hit.
I liked it. I was here for you the whole time. I never doubted it.
Yeah, and you could have had me the turn before with a better roll too. I was just hoping you didn't have one of those reachers in hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love those. The Ember Cog. I mean, that's probably my favorite unit in the deck because with the Summoner, you've got, a diagonal build, a diagonal attack. You've got a lot of options for getting, the Forge don't have a ton of ways to get around things, so it's pretty critical.
I'm just going to call those guys the Reachers from now on.
Yeah, I blanked on their names, so
it's canonical. Colby has said it. So I'm curious to ask you about the Forge. Like, is this faction your baby, your brainchild? Like, what?
Yeah, what? A little bit. I was we had the fire engineering, and I had some dwarf ideas I was throwing around, but I was expressing frustration to Colby. Like, we've got a lot of these ideas already out there with the obsidian dwarves, or the cloaks, or the sand goblins, and so he had the theme idea of like, oh, what about one guy and a bunch of automatons? So I got to credit him there. But yeah, then after that, this is really the last deck that I've really, built myself from the ground up. And of course, then the three of us work together, once there.
Yeah.
Once, and with the help of the play testers too. But yeah. So I'm really happy with how they turned out. They've turned out to be one of the most fun factions for me. And I haven't had a lot of time since then to work on creating factions, but depending on Colby and Nick and Donald pitching in a little bit. So yes, they hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, Donald sometimes comes in as the idea man and pitches an idea for a faction, or we'll build it out somewhat, and then Nick takes and molds that.
Or Groks when?
I don't know. I mean, his ideas for them were kind of they were cool, but were they some of the themes were kind of a reach. He wanted they're like
bouncy frogs.
Well, you're like hitting them to bounce them around, as I recall. But it was a solid. There's some solid ideas in there. It's just we gotta have some thematic excuses for some of it, I think.
It's really, you really follow
like the dogs are like the Tiddlywinks faction. Are you telling me that?
Yes. And those ones will be. Yeah, we always start with stuff, and then you just follow. Like any game design, you just follow the fun. So, Donald also had the idea with the Storm Goblins that it would be based around units that would hit stuff in between them, and we started like the one champion, and we started with trying to do that, and then over time you follow the fun, and that ended up being just one card, the champion who can hit stuff between it and another lightning card. But yeah. So the ideas, we come up with ideas, and then the game and the playtesters help us decide what direction to actually go.
Now that the previews are out for Storm Goblins, I'm curious because you guys have talked about them just feeling so right so early, and it's a little bit hard to talk about because we didn't know the cards yet. But what was it in that early alpha testing stage that made you guys go, yes, let's put these guys in line ahead of development and ahead of Shimmer Sea Fae? Like what was that thing that was working early?
In alpha testing, at some point, one of us came up with circuit. I want to say it was me, but I'm not certain. It might have been Joe.
You had the idea, but I just knew. I had in my back pocket, here's how we actually execute that.
Right. I had the idea and I presented. That's why I think I was confused, because I had the idea. I presented it to you, and you had said something like you had thought about that, but thought something like that it might be too much. But it's just, I mean, some of it is you just pat yourself on the back when you come up with an ability that has such a huge impact with so few words. Like, that always feels good. But then, yeah, it just turned out making those chains that was super fun, and jumping those vault swappers through the chain, and just doing a lot of stuff with that idea of the chain and the lightning abilities, and having stuff that triggers off of lightning abilities and other lightning abilities. And yeah, it was just, there was just a lot of, I would say it was fast through playtesting, and there was still a decent number of changes, but they were, but the core idea was like immediately popular in playtesting.
Yeah, if we like it and the playtesters like it, that
yeah, sometimes
happen, first of all.
Yeah, sometimes that doesn't happen.
So let me ask you then, what wasn't working about the Shimmer Sea Fae at the time? Yeah, are we allowed to ask that? Like, just we've heard about turmoil in the testing server.
They didn't like the initial design. That was another one where, like, I like it, but they didn't like it. And then a lot of it was trying to get the summoner right. Well, some of it's like there was some stuff that they would call feel bad. And it's like, well, I am trying to beat you. It is a one-on-one game. So I am trying to make you feel bad in some way. But it's a balance, right? You know, of trying to not have too many negative moments, and defining what it is in Summoner Wars that creates a negative moment, because there's obviously some things that get pinpointed as like, this feels really crappy when this happens.
I bet you wish that you didn't put dice in the game after this one.
And then, no, I'm still happy with the dice. That was that's like the best kind of game you can play. Like, that was an exciting game down to the end. It didn't follow my favorite, but it helped, I was part of a great story.
I wanted to ask you about that. This is the pop quiz you didn't want at 8:00 in the morning for me. Is I want to know the story of this game.
Thanks for waking up early, jeez.
Oh, well, thank my kids. And actually thank my husband for being the parent that's up with them.
What's the story of the game we just played?
Yes. Or what is this ancestral beef between the vampires and this guy with the robots? But I'll give you a moment to think about that. I won't spring that on you now, because I had that other question I was asking that I already forgot. We were talking about negative. Yeah,
the Shimmer Sea Fae, and it came down to the summoner. Like, the initial design was a summoner that could heal itself when it attacked, and it was like she was melee. She was still melee. So she could do it better. She was healing herself a lot better. It was like, but the only way she could get damage was to be up in the mix. It was a very me faction. Like, you wanted your summoner on the front line and fighting enough. You got to guard her flanks, but you had to try to keep from being overwhelmed and losing too much life, more than you could restore fast enough. But she was kind of like, she's powerful, but you have to be using her in order for that power to come to fruition. And then it was just, for whatever reason, that wasn't working. I don't recall exactly if it wasn't working just from a balance standpoint, or if people didn't like it, or what it was there. But then there was just a ton of iteration trying to find something that everybody liked.
Yeah, it's like because what it was is it was every time you picked up a unit from the battlefield without destroying it, every time discard it or return to leave the battlefield, it would heal her, and that actually it actually sounds cool, and it was fun when we were alpha testing it or whatever. But yeah, we were, for various reasons, healing can be tricky.
Yeah.
There's like wasted if you don't have damage, it's wasted. In this case, it was very much Colby wanted to make it about like how much do you push on this summoner, because if should you just play economy? But
the tiebreakers were also +1 for each champion on your opponent's side. It was just, I mean, it's a lot of what playtesting does, which is like, I'll have a concept that's like, look at how powerful and cool, and they're like, okay, but too powerful, and it just, it's the stone in a river. It just gets worn a little smoother than what you designed it.
But yeah, and also I think with them, it was at one point we were like, okay, what really is the theme of these guys? Because ideally you want, the Forged is very, okay, yeah, it's one guy and a bunch of robots, or another, of course, the Sand Goblins, they're Mad Max goblins.
Yeah, that was something that was happening, yes, a lot in playtesting. What are these guys about? What do you want these guys to be about?
Yeah, and it was a little bit like that old ability didn't quite fit with this idea of invaders or whatever. And I think where she ended up, even though it's a little less novel, it really ended up fitting in well. Thinking about our game on the stream yesterday and the way that they're trying to just get in your face and take over.
It's also starting to do something that that I think the Swamp work started, where we're making water a sub theme of water champions and an important champion play within them.
Yep, which is fun because in Summoner Wars First Edition, that just was Summoner Wars First Edition. But, but it's fun that it can be a thing that you can put into a deck or not now.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, people were debating it on the Discord, and I'm not really going to do it justice. I was kind of I think I called myself the layperson who said that, I kind of see the ice faction, the permafrost faction, the mermaid faction, and the swamp faction as being water. What's more complex about that? And people were replying like, no, it's the champ faction. Hey, shouldn't it be the big stats faction? Shouldn't it be this immovable, this kind of inexorable force forward? So people had a lot of different ideas and definitely were really interested in what the faction symbols mean to you. And I know we've kind of been promising Colby's rating a guide. It'll be on the new Summoner Wars website whenever that appears. But now that we have you, tell us more about how this water symbol evolved and what water and light mean together.
Yeah, I kind of in the article that will eventually come out, kind of put up front, as I recall, it might have been, I don't know if it made it into the final or I edited it out, but it was that that it's not an exhaustive article because we're still kind of discovering what each symbol can be about. Because sometimes you'll find out that big stats doesn't have enough. You need something else. You need something more. What also kind of fits into that, and this idea that champions are the biggest units. So maybe part of big stats is important champion play, and even though the champions within the Shimmer Sea Fae are not big themselves, they play a big role in their recursion element, their recursion and ambush, and so yeah, like the symbols will kind of continue to evolve as we go, and then sometimes it's like it's not, the symbols have to be an inspiration, and they continue to be an inspiration as the deck goes, but you also can't be afraid to evolve or to to borrow from something else that's not necessarily in symbol, but is the piece that is needed to make the whole more exciting.
It's a big soup. It's a big stew, really, of everything that influences it.
So light is typically like anything that happens off of the board. Our knowledge as players, the bigger scope, all the other symbols tend to be about stuff that is happening on the battlefield. And light has to do with draw pile and discard pile and anything that's kind of outside of the battlefield. Light is, the active events. That's kind of the main light element. It's a little bit magic blue, if you know that parlance.
I have this fake knowledge of Magic. I've never played it, but I feel like if you ever want to read or geek out about board game design, you kind of have to know a little bit about Magic. So I'm going to throw a Magic question at you. Do you guys design, or even if you don't consciously, then what's your opinion of how cards appeal to Timmy, Johnny, and Spike? Like, I actually love those architects. I'm curious, which ones are you? Let's start with that.
I guess I'm a Johnny. Johnny's there to have fun, right?
Well, Timmy's there to have fun. Johnny's there to express his creativity, and Spike wants to win.
Right. I'm not Spike for sure. So I guess I'm more Johnny. Johnny and Timmy combo. Johnny and Tim will have a baby, and that baby's me.
Yeah, I think we
Jimmy. I'm a Jimmy.
Yeah, there you go. For sure we design for the first two because we don't really have the capability of, especially in the early design places, of seeing the competitive potential of stuff. And then we depend on Nick and the playtesters a lot to help us satisfy Spike.
There's no way that we could design for Spike without them. Yeah.
But yeah, I like I've heard the analogy of sometimes the Spike is somebody who wants to drive a really nice new car, really expensive. And then I'm more Johnny in the sense of I want a beat up old car, but if you just do everything just right, that you can make it work. It's not necessarily so much about the strength of the faction. It's more because I just love the Fallen Kingdom, and it's okay, but
yeah,
it could go really bad, and you got to get the draw order just right, and you got to put a bunch of card effects all together, and I love doing that.
Yeah, I don't know how much room there is in Summoner Wars for the Johnny in the same way that it's expressed in Magic. Because I think in Magic it's about that deck building is where Johnny expresses his creativity, except for if you're on the playtest and design team, and then there's that. And then there are people who do the deck building, and you can do that, but for whatever reason, it's not the most played way that Summoner Wars fans like to do.
I actually am going to jump in and with an opinion on this. I don't think deck building is the only way to kind of get that Johnny fix. I mean, people are chatting about Don. Okay, so Waterdeep saying there are many Johnny factions in Summoner Wars. I'm going to say any Johnny faction is one where the cards are flexible enough that you can play very, very creatively. For example, people using brute force to whack your own unit into position to make an unexpected attack, those little combos that, people don't see coming, or just playing in an unexpected way.
Well, the fact that you are, that kind of the cards are known, what's in your opponent's deck. When you pick a deck, it's already all preset for you. There's room in the community for a lot of Johnnying, but when one of them works really good, you also see it spread amongst the elite, and that's now the way you play that faction.
This is true, but I wouldn't say that like sort of the top players have as much agreement as you might think. You know, like I think say arguments about whether, you know, there's people that think you auto discard coolant. And, you know, other people are like, no, are you kidding?
What?
Put it on your champs.
Yeah. You gotta use coolant.
It's a magic. It's a magic that Joe could have used.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think this wasn't the showcase game for it, but
No, absolutely. And I'm not knocking coolant. I'm just saying that there are very good players with fairly extreme opinions that diverge from each other.
Yeah.
You know, so it's actually been not that common that you really just land on this way that Spike always plays on this deck and it always wins.
Yeah, Summoner Wars presents itself, I think, a lot differently than Magic, because I think a lot of Magic happens in the deck building, and a lot of Summoner Wars happens on the battlefield, which is more rewarding for me. But of course, I'm designing my ideal game in Summoner Wars.
Absolutely. I mean, it's more accessible for me. You know, I'm just going to interrupt and say thank you, Colby, for designing this game with strategic and tactical depth that a middle-aged mom can actually get good at without the level of investment that chess and Magic the Gathering can have.
Well,
you know, I wouldn't have gone into either of I think of those as the parents, but you know, there are design things I admire about Summoner Wars that make it very tight and manageable for async play. And, you know, congratulations, you birthed this community of spikes that now you don't know what to do with.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. Spikes end up in playtesting a lot, but maybe that's, you know, it can be an antagonistic relationship at times that we're doing vicariously through Nick. But I think maybe importantly so, because it's the element that we kind of lack the most, is the spike. But they're not all completely spiky either, because like there are also very much the problem with this is it's not fun. You know, that'll be the thing that comes up a lot. Like, I didn't like it when you did this to my guy, and that's also a struggle and a point of contention, because it's like, come on, bro, we have to design so many of these. You can't just rope off entire things from us. But eventually there's usually some compromise reached, or some playtesters quit. That's sometimes the result.
Oh, we've gotten the fallout from that one. I mean, like we're, okay. So we know which funny testers have quit, but Water did saying in chat, I don't know why Spike has this reputation of not caring about fun, when that is the only thing they care about. I mean, that does sum it up. Like Spike's not like bringing home a bigger paycheck or.
I guess they're all doing it for fun, but
right.
Spike really needs to win to have fun. I think that's got to be the key driving goal. I mean, we're all playing a game knowing that the goal is to win, but for me, a lot of times I'll make the most the move I find most entertaining in the moment. I don't overanalyze stuff in the same way that I think a Spike does.
Yeah, a good example is actually something with competitive players is just practice. So people have asked like, oh, could we get the ability to do like private games with the tournament cards or something? And it's because they want to practice for a tournament or whatever. And, which to me, I'm like, you want to practice? Like, that's not something that would ever even occur to me.
I mean, yes, there are people who do, but no. It's the Johnny Brew. It's like, give me my ingredients. Like, I want to cook something up. I don't think it's practice the way, like, you're practicing scales on a piano or something. It's literally like, here's my canvas. I want these new colors that you've been promising me. Like, there is a
Oh, sure,
Like,
sure,
I
sure.
don't think you get to really be a Spike in this game without being like at least 50% Johnny.
Right.
You
Having
know,
some
just what can I
creativity,
do creatively? And you know, there are other games that I wouldn't necessarily get into because, you know, if it's just about optimizing a particular strategy, I get bored. But
Well,
I think
Summoner Wars, the base of the pyramid is sort of drama, sort of cinematic gameplay. So we
Right. I mean, this
already
kind of
have
goes
cut
back to
out.
the unanswered question about what was
Yeah.
the story of that game we just played.
I'm gonna come back to this. This is
But
my one chance to hear from the creators.
The
yeah,
narrative I'm referencing is more the emergent narrative of how that battle went down and it being this close
Right.
call a few times and Joe, you know, me pushing and Joe creating this defense and then me pulling back and forcing him to come to me. You know, it's the emergent narrative of look at the arc of this game and the ups and downs and it's one of the great things about games. Like then Joe's uncontrollably laughing when I fail to kill my own unit. So less about the story of the Forge versus the, you know, what caused them to hate each other, more of like what was the, you know, the journey that we went on as this game played out.
Although I was thinking about during the game, like, what is, like, you can convert a sentry into a cultist. Like, there must be, I mean, well, either A, it doesn't make sense and there's too many matchups for it all to make sense, or B, you could speculate that there's some kind of intimate connection between the inventor and these creations, and there's a part of him in there.
He uses his own blood as oil to
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's humanity in each one straight from the inventor. Exactly. Something like that.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's
well, I mean,
canon. Wait, stop the presses. This needs to go on in like those little bios and things. I declare this canon right now.
Those are already written, so I don't know if they mention him IVing his blood. But yeah, I mean, I don't imagine that devout cultist. I don't imagine that Meg cog turned into a devout cultist. I just imagine that the Meg cog's mind, that devout cultist now represents a Meg cog that is serving that is serving the Crimson Order because they were turned. He's a vampire now, so he must have blood in him. That's the only possible explanation.
Maybe the Crimson Order, you know, we often think about vampiric types as being kind of blasphemous, but maybe it's the Crimson Order who thinks that what the inventor is doing with these robots is inhumane and an abomination. You know what I mean? They're like, we're all about the flesh. This guy's taking machines and putting intelligence and flesh into them. We can't have that. We got to do something.
Oh, I love both of those. So when are you going to put on like a fifth, sixth, 10th hat and like become a novelist?
I don't have that in me. It is. I can write to an extent, but like it takes so much out of me to express myself in that way. I really spend a lot of time with the words in order to write. Whereas like for Bistro, I feel like it just flows out of him.
I can see that. But I mean, really, like I mean, I'm just, you know, like fangirling right now how much I love the characters, and obviously Martin Abel and the artists do a lot to bring them to life too. But you know, just the characters, the emergent stories, and just like it's just this, you know, it's this cinematic soup. You know, it's a little bit, you know, cinema for Johnny, I guess. Is just like throw these units there, and you know, your spike, you know, your inner spike is going to make the most efficient or advantageous play, and somehow the story is never boring.
I think part of that's thanks to the dice. I think.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just like design kudos for people criticize the Spike player for like playing conservatively and like, man, like top players play like weenies. And I don't see those games as boring at all, either cinematically or as Spike, or as the tactician. Like there's just so much going on. And it's like first edition was criticized for turtling. And I feel like when second edition games played by two Spikes have the slow period in the beginning where the armies are building, like there's a lot going on tactically and strategically and cinematically. To me, it's just dramatic tension. Like there will be ice flying.
I 100% agree. Colby and I are both American football fans, and it's always like, on TV, it's always like more offense. We want to see the touchdowns, but I've always loved low-scoring defensive game. Like I find that very compelling, and yeah, I agree. Like we proved in first edition that can go too far, but I think when you see that kind of game in second edition, I'm highly entertained by it. We've had some tournament championship games and stuff that have been like that. They've been great.
Absolutely. So here's another question. Now that you're talking about football, for on the cloaks, Simpsons and Bandits' abilities to reach the backfield and then come back, reach the opponent's backfield and come back to theirs. Were those called touchdowns in playtesting, or did we invent the term?
Oh, I didn't call them that. Did you?
I did not. Maybe the playtesters were. I don't spend a lot of time on the playtest forums.
We had a Blitz Bowl tournament on Super Bowl Sunday between some Plaid Hat staff, and it very much applies. It's that thing. Get to the other end.
I was not thinking of it as a touchdown. It was like, it goes back to first edition, and we had like a thief in the cloaks, and it was trying, because I knew the cloaks. I wanted the cloaks to be the rogues, the D&D rogue, and so I just was trying to think of how to express stealing, right? Like, oh, I'm getting into your house and coming away with something.
Yeah. But just jumping on the back of what you said about enjoying the theme, like I agree. I think the game's a little underrated for that. I contribute very little to that, by the way, so I'm not patting myself on the back. But like to that aspect. But I do think it doesn't always get credit, like, because to me, I find fantasy, I really bounce off of it. And there's something about Summoner Wars where it's just weird enough to be really interesting and fun to think about. So I really appreciate that aspect of it too. It's got the right level of weird to it.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fangirl about that too. I mean, it's just, I love the creative takes on like these sometimes tired fantasy races.
Right.
I really love that. And I mean, like it's funny. Like everyone loves vanguards. Everyone loves the Western Knights, and I mean, I love that Sarah is this Joan of Arc figure. Like you gave that faction to, it didn't have, it could have been Samuel Farthen in charge. It didn't have to be Sarah Eldwin and her backstory, and you guys went there with the flagship faction.
That's one of the most clear pictures I had in my head for in art direction, doing Sarah again. Of course that she dates back to first edition, but I really love the contrast of Sarah's art next to the Vanguard Knight, right? Like this gigantic, physically powerful guy that is next to this young, slight girl and taking orders from her because she's got this power that trumps his, that isn't all about the physicality, right?
No,
even though they're knightly, they're both knightly, they're both armored, and that's a physical job, or has physical connotations, but it's a world of magic.
No, I mean, in my headcanon, influenced by Joan of Arc, I do see her power as being her conviction. She has the faith to lead this army and, be the shining light. But I mean, it's 3 attack values. Sarah is such a difference, though.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like just both gameplay wise and lore wise, I feel like you can't disconnect the two in my head. I feel like 2 attack values Sarah like needed babysitting. Both literally and thematically. The knight was her babysitter. Whereas once she got that 1 extra attack, then she was the leader. She was the leader lore wise and on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think the 2 attack value was also, as far as in the design phase, and we should have found it in the testing phase, but there was a lot of thought the vanguards were really powerful because of their ability to heal, and that really got,
we had to do a lot of guessing for
that got worn down over time. Their ability to heal got kind of cut back, and I guess not sufficiently made up for elsewhere. But I think the original design, the 2 attack powers, like really trying to pose this faction. It wasn't about like, oh, she's weak. It was about trying to pose this faction. This is a defensive faction. Think about this defensively. And one of the ways to put that on display was like, this is the lowest attack value summoner because it's all about the defense. But yeah, it turns out giving her 3 attack values, so a huge world of difference. Because you want to attack with her, and then rewarding that with a decent attack turns out to be a lot more fun.
Even though this tension on the design side between Johnny, Timmy, and Spike, with Spike being vocal, I love the collaboration and kind of this emergent art that comes out of it, and that includes when it gets thrown over the fence and the players have a go at it. And, I feel like this, with Vanguard, I think the strategy now is we want the midfield. Like the armies take, we're fighting this melee battle for control over the midfield, and to me it's thematic in a way that wouldn't be possible without the Timmy, Johnny, and Spike fighting it out, and then finally the players have a say, and we're being John. We are Tim. We're kind of all 3. Right. It is definitely a very. I feel like to be Spike in this game, you have to be a little bit Johnny. You have to be creative. You have to come up with these creative strategies, and just what emerges with Vanguards is this midfield battler, and Sarah's this inspirational force as she keeps bringing units back.
Yeah, she wants to hold the line more than turtle up.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I'm just commenting on just the evolutionary nature of this creative design, and it's something that I think I'm connected because I feel like we're all part of it.
Well, you all were, with the Vanguards is a good case of everybody being a part of that, in that it wasn't until it was released that we got enough numbers to tell us these guys need help, and it was a long discussed thing to release revised cards. Because I was really afraid of backlash, and but we haven't seen a lot of it. There's not been a lot of of you owe me these replacement cards. Because some stuff we just do not catch until the Seer is the weakest version of the Seer that was ever in playtesting.
Yeah. It could have been so much worse if we didn't have good playtesters already helping us.
And then, some creative people just figured out ways to abuse it in ways that, are eventually we're going to address, we have to be slow about it, because the worst thing we could do is to change something and still not be right.
Make everything worse.
Absolutely. Take your time.
The communities, I think, learned patience, and also I think changing Vanguards and Polar Dwarves built good faith with us. We're not beating down your door with torches and pitchforks because we trust you.
Well, my worry was that the more casual player would get upset, but I don't know that the more casual player is even paying attention to the fact that changed.
Right.
On a grand scale. Because the more casual you are, the more wiggle room there is in balance. You know, you kind of your local group gets to a certain level of sharpening one another. It's not until you like bring it on the stage of like the best of the best that every minute thing can make a big difference.
I will be perfectly honest. At the time of the balance changes to Polar Dwarves and Vanguards, I was like working my way up the league ladder. Like there were 6 divisions then. I think I was maybe like maybe Division 5 on the verge of Division 4. Actually, I remember this because my tiebreaker game, you guys nerfed Polar Dwarves like right as I'd committed to Polar Dwarves. But
and you still didn't knock down our door with torches.
Actuality, for the skill level I was, and even like being on the Discord and knowing what all the top players were talking about, and having seen a video of like that Donkey doing that crazy ice ram turn where a Bua gets bounced halfway across the board. They were not overpowered in my hands. Like Vanguards were not weak, and Polar Dwarves were not strong. Like I was getting beaten by Vanguards pretty regularly in open queue, and I wasn't like some dominant force with Polar Dwarves. In fact, I pretty much gave up on trying to do that. The half-hour ice ram turn.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't make the swamp works work either.
So I mean, my point is like even for me as kind of like I guess an intermediate competitive player on their way up, like the factions were balanced. I just find 3 attack Sarah. It just makes the deck so much better.
Yeah,
I don't.
Fun.
Yeah, it's just more. Yeah, it's not only more balanced; it's more fun.
But do you guys feel affected by basically video game cycles where they expect that no one's going to get the design right out the gate? Like that's just impossible. Like it's not going to be perfectly balanced because that's not realistic. But obviously you can apply balance patches on a much faster and regular scale because you're not affected by physical cards. Like, do you find that mentality comes back to you guys, both sort of the errata are no big deal and but when are we going to get it?
We're definitely jealous of them. We're not affected. We're not as pressured to release something that's not ready as they are, but we don't have no pressure. There's a payroll that needs to continue to get paid, so we do have to release product to make money. So there are times where it's like we have to, you got 2 weeks left. You gotta you gotta do this. And those times, and so there it is affected to some degree. That errata, we were never treating that as a possibility, and I still don't think that we do, because it's not errata. It's like it's a very big deal if we have to errata something. We don't feel good about doing it. Which is part of why we take our time to do it. Like, are we sure we have to do something about this? Yeah.
Go on.
I think that, to me, game design is all about surprise. Like, that's the core of what a game is. And like, if we could balance everything up front beforehand, that would mean that the game's just not interesting enough. Like, I think that's just I think that's a basic fact about game design. I think compared to 10 or 15 years ago, 15 years ago is when Summoner Wars First Edition was released.
Yeah, I remember being on a panel back then, like back around that time, and having somebody on the panel says, like, every good game at its core is about math. And I was like, wrong.
Like, I think people have a much better understanding about that, some of those ideas, in part because of video games, and we see the number of hundreds of thousands and millions of hours put into things, and how new discoveries still get made and stuff like that. So
that's true. It's like they're your petri dish. Like everything happens faster.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you could do all this playtesting and like within a week, there's 10 times more games have been played than you were able to do in a playtest, once it's released. Related to that, I really agree with you about each step along the way is a kind of expression and design, just in the sense of, and that's my favorite thing about tabletop games is the way that it really depends on everybody in that chain. You can't. The furthest thing would be like a movie where truly you're just truly a passive observer. You are dependent on the players to put forth creative effort in order to sort of complete the experience. So that's very much agreed that the community is a big part of developing the game into what it is.
Love it.
Did we lose somebody? Oh
No.
That's my computer chiming and telling me something.
I think that was kind of a moment of silence for that design process. I mean, that I was happy to be the person breaking the silence. But Ben's been quiet.
I'm always happy to sit and listen. That's always been fun. So something I am curious to ask you guys about is work-life balance. Or with designing games in particular, how do you not burn out? Do you try to and do you go and play Summoner Wars games for fun? How do you enjoy it and not get sick of it?
I think you do burn out is the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of, I think a lot of people burn out in life no matter what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right around 37. And
that's specific.
Yeah, I think you just have to find a way to heal from it. I'm pretty strict about not doing work outside of work hours. Like, as a CEO, you can just always be working if you wanted to, or not. Even if you didn't want to, you just felt like you needed to. But yeah, I try not to spend too much time working when it's not a designated work time.
Does
that help?
Does playing games start to feel like work? Like playing games for fun?
I think that, to me, the average game designer does play less games than the average BGG user, kind of person who's at the height of their hobby stuff. That's just my experience of what I've seen. It might not be universal, so I do think that's a little natural. But I don't know. I'm surprised. Before I found board games, I would get into something for a few months, and then it would taper off. You know what I mean? And I thought, I guess this is just me. I'm always going to be like this. But now I've been into board games, for close to 20 years, and I still have quite a bit of fun with them. So I'm excited about that. But we're not too intense of a team. We have some crunch when we've got a deadline. But yeah, people, Colby is not, using whips and threats to get us to put in more hours or anything like that.
Are you recovered from the app push?
Right. Yeah, I think I am, because I'm really enjoying working on this update. That'll come out next week, and it'll have a lot of good little improvements and stuff. It's an iterative update. It's not a big overhaul, but yes, at first, I was a little burned out.
I think it is easy to fall into when you're playing at least for me, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but as a maybe even more as a developer than as a designer, as a publisher, it is easy to get into business mode when you're playing a game of like, I would have done this different, or I wonder how much that cost them to do, or you know, or like why did they make this wording choice? Stuff like that, where it's like, you know, you're turning on the part of your brain that is not necessarily there for fun. So I think it is fairly easy to fall into that. But sometimes, like, my favorite game experience is when a game, you know, shows up and that part of my brain does not ever turn on because of, you know, I'm too busy enjoying the experience. Like Joe introduced us to this horse race game. What is the name of that game? Ready, Set, Bet?
Yeah.
And it was just such a great emotional experience that the game gives. Like I just love a game that, like, oh, I have paper and a pen, and I can turn that into an experience where you're cheering and getting adrenaline hits. Like that just seems like that's fantastic.
Have you two?
I mean, in that way, it's kind of like novels. Like you asked me about, well, writing a novel or something like that. I think anytime I have a story idea, like my brain is immediately going into like, could this be a board game? Because like I don't know how I would sell a novel. I don't know how I would support myself writing a novel. Like if I write a novel about Summoner Wars and 1% of people that play Summoner Wars buy it, that's not a viable time spent for my family.
Even like there's like Twilight Imperium novels and stuff, and I'm like, how can they? What was the what is that author? How can they make? And Twilight Imperium is way more popular than Summoner Wars, but I can't even believe that that's a viable way to spend your time financially. Maybe it's not. Maybe.
Well, I mean that I don't think it's the game designers writing those. They hire that out to a freelancer, I think.
Right, but like that's what I'm saying. It's like, how can they sell enough that was even?
I don't know. Asmodee started doing that with whatever that company is that does their novels. I'm blanking on the name. I had a meeting with them, and it was like the whole time it's just like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think you're going to sell enough copies of this for it to be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, but people enjoy them. I mean, so there's other considerations from a customer standpoint, but yeah, from a business standpoint.
Sure, like does it increase the customer's connection with the game? Yeah, maybe.
Have you two had ebbs and flows in your career as gamers, as a hobby? Has it gone up and down?
I wouldn't say that this was truly like I don't know, a lifestyle thing until Summoner Wars. I mean, it's definitely ebbed and flowed in that, my husband and I, like when we started dating, like pandemic was kind of this, I kind of see it as part of like our early dating life when you're kind of sussing out like how this other person troubleshoots and responds to crises. And, I don't know that pandemic would have been as important to us if it hadn't landed in that specific period of dating.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, I mean, we played a fair number of games, as like a young couple without kids. I mean, not that I was really young, but that's another story. We played a bunch of games with our first kid, like zombie kids and, things you can do with 2 adults, 1 kid. Then gaming really fell off the map when we had our second because, like, you just can't get anything done with, like, a baby. I mean, some people can, but we couldn't get, like, manage, like, baby eating board game pieces and juggling an older kid who's still not really independent. And I kind of discovered Summoner Wars at a point where physical board games were just hard to play and hard to get to the table due to like the age of our kids and the pandemic making it hard to, get together with friends for any reason, much less gaming. So Summoner Wars made gaming accessible to me in a way that I really hadn't been expecting. And, like Joe said, I wasn't really expecting kind of this hobby to have lasted as long as it did. But I will say, you know what? I'll let Ben answer, and then I do have a follow up to what Colby said a while back about just watching playing a board game and thinking about how much this cost and what drove that design decision. But I want to let Ben talk.
Yeah, it's interesting for me too. Like Summoner Wars is definitely the most I've ever been invested in a game at this point. Like video games for me have always been just a fun thing I'll do by myself, and then board games is sort of like with Watered's definition of a spike is the person that wants to play efficiently. I guess I'm a spike. Fine, I admit it, but it's always still a social thing. Like just like and I play a lot of board games with friends, but losing train of thought.
No pressure.
Yeah, no, it's always a social thing, but I'd still like sort of like do solo things like here and there. Like I'd play a ton of Spirit Island, but it's like, oh, I really want to get better at this one spirit, and oh, you can do you can do solo games of Spirit Island, and then suddenly Summoner Wars is like somehow like just like the perfect game that like satisfies all the itches for me. And then there's online, you can play with people online, and I just don't want to do anything else. It's sort of eaten up all of my gaming space. But even within that, there's ebbs and flows of just like, I just need to not play this game for a month or I will be sick of it forever.
Yeah, we definitely thought that the online would be a big component of. You can't just show up with a game that's going to occupy the physical space in the same way that something like Magic the Gathering is, where you could just go to a local game shop and find an opponent. The online was very much a conscious choice of like the players who really dig in on this, like how do we make sure they can find other players to play with?
Yep.
Yeah, Waterdee's saying in chat, agree about the social part despite being a spike myself. The most fun thing is arguing with everyone on Discord telling me I'm wrong and telling them they're the ones wrong. Nothing beats
I could have guessed that Waterdee's favorite thing was to argue.
I think Waterdee and I are more alike than anyone will ever give credit for or want to think about. I think I said very early on when Water was starting to notice me as a player, like on the rise. I sort of told him, I'm not actually here to win games. I'm here to win arguments about games.
Well, I mean, yeah, part of the subculture that obviously you all take part in is the Discord, right? So it's talking about the game as part of the hobby.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the Discord's also been a very different experience than what I was expecting, and I've had a role in that. Like I will, pat myself on the back for that.
Oh yeah, we really appreciate all your involvement in helping manage that and what both you guys have been contributing. But yes, I know that it's daunting to take on moderation and cultivating a culture on something like a Discord server.
Was not expecting that. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, at this point, the people on Discord are real people to me. And I think that's the difference in the culture is that, like if you're a regular for long enough, you do see people as real people and they're not just like drive-bys to like, insult and then move on to the next Discord.
It's really cool to see that happen because the biggest inspiration for Summoner Wars is HeroScape. And that game for me was like the first game that I found, and it was my it was my hobby lifestyle game, and I found a lot of friends that I'm still friends with today through that game. And so to see it, it happening with Summoner Wars and second edition in particular is really great to see.
Yeah, again, it's that weird collaboration. It's the thing that wouldn't happen if not for like no one person can make it happen. It's right. Just that stew. Same with the way Vanguards has evolved thematically. I mean, the funny thing is things I brought up Vanguards to make the point. I love, people have this special relationship with the Western Knights faction, but I love all the weird ones that we've never heard of before. I love that Eternal Council. To me, it's like the Jedi Old Republic.
Yeah.
It's just, you get tired of orcs versus elves, but we got like swamp orcs and tundra orcs and savannah elves, and it's I love the diversity. I'm not going to leave this this scuffle without just saying hats off, thank you, it's amazing. As a female player who's a racial minority, it's amazing. It's not something you see very often. Really from the bottom of my heart, where you guys went with the art and the character design and the cultural consultant, and just really, hats on, hats off. Church, I'll let you guys respond.
Yeah, that's I mean, I can't take a lot of credit for that. A lot of that is being influenced by other people around me, like Isaac, and learning the importance of it over time. And you could definitely see the difference between first edition and second edition. And it's not like it's not like I was telling artists like only draw white people. It's just like that's what it defaults to unless you're very conscientious about it. And even if you're being conscientious about it, it still slips back to that very easily. And yeah, I was a very different person before I found games and found the community around them and was exposed to different kinds of people, so that's all. And still the staff still is, out there advocating for all sorts of stuff that I don't, I can't take a lot of credit for that.
I'll give you the credit anyway.
Well, yeah, and that is a wonderful note to conclude this on. We are pretty much out of time. Anything else you guys want to chat about? Any questions?
Just to thank you guys again for all your contributions to the community and to the game itself. Even Ben has been actively involved in crafting some rule stuff too. So, really appreciate it. I know it takes a lot of effort. This is still, in the grand scheme of things, a little game.
Yeah,
which means we're more dependent on higher effort from you guys sometimes than we can really ask for. So we appreciate it.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you. And thank you guys for being so involved with the community and for chatting and for listening to us. It means a lot and helps keep this game fun and fresh.
Yeah, sometimes I feel guilty that I'm not more involved.
Well, Turtron is saying Summoner Wars is also special for the access we as fans have with the creators and development. So we appreciate everything that you give us.
And by the way, I still feel like just a fan, really. I mean, because it was my favorite game. So,
I'm a fan of it too.
He actually
is a game.
When you talked about being burnt out, I was like, I think Colby just enjoys Summoner Wars too much to be burned out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get burnt out in playing it and stuff. It's I always feel, that the game just continues to work for me, and part of that is just it was designed around what I wanted. But yeah, I'm super proud of it. I definitely can't take all the credit, but I don't shy away from, out of false modesty, I don't shy away from thinking it's a great game and more people should be playing it.
I think it's a great game too.
Absolutely.
We're preaching to the choir, I think, with this audience. Please tell your friends about Summoner Wars.
Yes.
Doing our best.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast. Hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys later. Bye.